Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening if you're watching this late at night. This video is about finding quotes, citations, and doing research for school. All right, here we go. You could put in something into Google. United Nations do not. Why did the United Nations not do more to intervene in the Rwandan genocide? Put that into Google, see what comes up. We can see that there's a lot of different sources that are coming up. This time there's Wikipedia. Now I quickly want to talk about Wikipedia. A lot of professors and teachers ask you not to use Wikipedia in your citations. The reasons around that are about academic tradition and looking for things that are more academic in flavor, meaning that they're from universities, they're peer-reviewed scholarly articles, they have academic rigor or tradition. There's a debate about the value of Wikipedia, but there is some value for Wikipedia for the purpose of learning and for the purpose of starting and finding other keywords that you could put into Google or other search engines or databases like people and events if you don't know where to start with your research. But avoid using Wikipedia as a key source in your essay. Google Scholar is an option that you can use to do research and get more scholarly articles that have academic rigor to them. Databases are also useful. If you're using a database from the Surrey School District, you can use digital resources from Surrey Schools 1, and you go down and identify your grade, and it will show you some relevant sources. Some I would recommend would be Gale into Context Global Issues, specifically if you're doing global history. Of course, Canadian history, you could use Canada. There's other databases here as well. We'll open that up. Visit the website. I'm going to put in that same search here, and we'll see that we get some sources coming up here. If I'm just using a regular Google search, I can add the word encyclopedia. Encyclopedia. And see if that refines my search. I get Wikipedia. I want to avoid that and see if there's any other things that come up. Let's take a look at this article that comes up. It has an author. Authors are useful to show because then you can Google the author and find out who they are, what is their expertise, and are they an expert. If you are looking for a issue that's specific to a specific focus, a field, you want to see that the authors has some sort of background in what they're writing about. Okay, so there is that article. In this section of the article, we found some interesting information about Mogadishu and the impact on that. Okay, say if I decide that I want to take this sentence and use it as a citation, I could plop it into my research notes as this is something I want to cite. I'm going to put quotations around it, and if I cut off a sentence in the middle, I'm going to put ... at the end. Then I'm going to put the source in brackets, and if it's a straightforward thing, often it would be the author there. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit more complicated if you're citing a quote, but consult with the MLA 8 rules or your teacher about what you need to do, what goes in the brackets. Usually it's the author for MLA 8. There are some complex things. For example, you could have multiple authors and you'll put ET space AL dot to show that it's and other authors. For your quote in your paragraph, you're going to want to put a sentence before introducing your quote. And if you're quoting a quote by another author quoting somebody else, you'll want to introduce that concept in your introduction sentence. And check about how you're supposed to cite that in MLA 8. Then you want to do your citation and you want to explain it. That's ICE. The other way to remember that is PEEL, PEEL, point, evidence, explain, and link. So the evidence would be your citation or quote, and then the explanation and link would be linking it back to your point, your thesis, and other ideas. Thank you for paying attention to this video for so long. Because you have stayed right to the end of the video, I'm going to show you Chat GPT. Now, this is a tool for research and learning, but not a tool that should be used for plagiarism. Do not use this to plagiarize ideas. So I've typed into ChatGPT the question, why did the United Nations not do more to intervene in the Rwandan genocide? Let's see how this artificial intelligence responds. Okay, here we go, clicking, and an error occurred. So now we're going to write a 500-word essay on the role of the United States and the United Nations in the Rwandan genocide, make an argument that the United States and the United Nations should have intervened. Let's see if this artificial intelligence can handle this. The Rwandan genocide, which occurred in 1994, was a horrific event in which 800,000 to 1 million Rwandans were killed in just 100 days. The genocide was carried out by Hutu majority against a Tutsi minority, as well as political opponents of the ruling government. The international community, including the United States and the United Nations, failed to intervene in a meaningful way to prevent or stop the genocide. In this essay, I will argue that the United States and the United Nations should have intervened in the Rwandan genocide as they had a moral and legal obligation to do so. There are several reasons why the United States and the United Nations should have intervened in the Rwandan genocide. First and foremost, the international community has a moral obligation to protect civilians from mass atrocities, such as genocide. The Rwandan genocide was a clear case of mass murder and ethnic cleansing. The United States and the United Nations had a responsibility to prevent such atrocities from occurring. In addition to this moral obligation, the United States and the United Nations also had a legal obligation to intervene in the Rwandan genocide. The 1948 Genocide Convention, which ratified by both the United States and the United Nations, obligates signatories to take action. Cannot read this fast, so I'm going to skip a paragraph. Despite the compelling reasons for intervention, the United States and the United Nations failed to take meaningful action to prevent or stop the Rwandan genocide. The United States in particular was slow to respond to the crisis and did not take significant action until it was too late. The United Nations also failed to act as the Security Council was unable to reach a consensus on how to respond to the crisis. One of the main reasons why the United States and the United Nations did not intervene in the Rwandan genocide was the lack of political will. Both the United Nations and the United States were focused on other priorities and did not want to commit the necessary resources to address the crisis in Rwanda. Additionally, there was a lack of information about the scale and severity of the crisis, as the media did not give the Rwandan genocide the attention it deserved. In conclusion, the United States and the United Nations should have intervened in the Rwandan genocide as they had a moral and legal obligation to do so. The international community has a responsibility to protect civilians from mass atrocities. The Rwandan genocide was a clear case of genocide. The United States and the United Nations also had a strong practical interest in preventing Rwandan genocide. It had a stabilizing impact on the region. Despite these compelling reasons for intervention, the United States and the United Nations failed to take meaningful action to prevent or stop the Rwandan genocide due to a lack of political will and a lack of information about the crisis. All right, so this artificial intelligence from Open AI called Chat GPT is very, very new, and not all university professors and teachers are even aware of this as of yet and have come to a conclusion about how this should be used in the 21st century of learning. However, we know how it should not be used. How it should not be used is to plagiarize and to create an essay that you did not write. So the goal of what your teachers want you to do is to write your own essay in your own words, where you find your citations and you go through the process of choosing your citations and choosing your quotes, and then discuss the citations in your own words about what you think. And you can use your opinion using the word should or must or should have. You can also see how the AI did it here at the very beginning. The artificial intelligence put, in this essay, I will argue the United States and the United Nations should have intervened in the Rwandan genocide. Some teachers like this style and some teachers do not like the first person, so you want to consult with your particular professor or teacher to find out if they prefer or do not like the first person used in an essay writing. In this case, this is the first time I've seen this artificial intelligence switch to the first person. It's a very interesting voice for this artificial intelligence. Another example of what you should not do is do not put the word quote into Google when you're looking for a quote. This brings up bad results, and I find an example of a very bad source where people are trying to find a quote out of context where the internet has chosen the quote for them, and they're finding a quote off of a poster. This is not the academic process for choosing a quote. You want to find instead an article where you choose the sentence from the article and then make a choice about what sentence. Here's Rwanda Genocide of 1994 by the editors of the Encyclopedia Britannica. If you use this encyclopedia, you can click Cite and it will have the citation information for you here. And then you go through the exercise of using your own mind and brain to come up with your own decision to what you want to choose as a citation, a quote from reading through this article. And then you introduce it, you put in the citation, and then you explain it, and then you link it to your point, to your thesis. Thank you so much for your attention. Have a good day.